Thanks for joining us for a new episode of the Holistic Selling Podcast. This will be a very special show today. Each guest in previous episodes shared their insights on some aspects of the holistic selling framework: culture, sales, marketing, product management, customer success, etc. Today, we will take a different approach. My guest today is Adam Roach. Adam is the founder and CEO of I Love Coaching, where he helps proven leaders turn their experience into a coaching business that's real, profitable, and built to last. Adam is a highly recognized and celebrated executive coach who leverages his passion and 2 decades of entrepreneurial experience to help people build meaningful businesses. So today, on this episode, Adam will act as my executive coach to help figure out how we could turn holistic selling into a business. Keep in mind that while we will be using holistic selling as the framework for this conversation today, the message applies to any of you out there who are considering leveraging your past experience to become an executive coach, whether you're thinking of building it as a business or simply leveraging it to build a personal success as well as the success of those around you. So I'm very excited to engage with Adam today.
Bernard, I'm so excited to be here. This is going to be a lot of fun. The framework and the container that you are creating for this podcast, for your listeners, for yourself, this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited.
Yeah, I am as well. Please, if you want to say a few words to further introduce yourself, please do so.
Well, my name is Adam Roach. As Bernard said, I've been in this space of helping executives build coaching businesses since I had hair. So I don't know if this is going to be a visual or just audio. I'm a bald guy, and I say that jokingly. The coaching world is a space that has been in my life for a long time. My father was an Olympic swim coach. I played professional tennis. Coaching has been in my world for, as I said, a long, long time. Though I come from basic beginnings. My grandfather and his father and I think 3 generations before that were all farmers in Indiana. And so getting to experience hard work, hard labor work, and then watching my dad in the coaching space, and then being coached what feels like my entire life. I still have 3 coaches right now myself that coach me. Coaching is so vital to success, in my opinion. Because here's what we know, Bernard. We can come from a space of success. We can even come from a space of significance. But there will come a point in time where you will hit your head on a ceiling of achievement and not know how to break through that, which is why you have to go get a coach. So in my years of entrepreneurship, I've never been without a coach. I've been married twice now. And the second time go around, guess what? I hired a coach before I even proposed to my wife, who I love dearly. In the space of parenting, in the space of leadership, I've never gone without a coach. So I'm excited to have this, and I feel truly blessed to be able to step into the space now where we get to serve coaches. It's a whole nother podcast story of how this came about, though. John Maxwell, who is a dear, dear friend of mine and a coach and a mentor of mine, has been for the last 15 years. When I went down the entrepreneurial path, he said to me, Adam, you've had a lot of great success. I successfully exited those businesses, and people would look at the exits as successful. And then he asked me a question. He says, when do you plan on stepping into the significance space? And I said, well, help me understand what that means. He says, because significance is when you are serving people, when you are serving your calling, when you're stepping into that space to help people and you're not just chasing that almighty dollar. I was like, oh, that's good. And so it was that point in time after my father, unfortunately, had passed in 2019 that I decided to sell everything that I was having success in and step into a space of significance to go serve coaches who were serving other people in their own unique verticals, whatever that was. I didn't care what it was. I wanted to serve the coaches to help them build their business. And we have a vision statement inside the I Love Coaching community that goes like this: to empower coaches. I believe all coaches should empower each other. Empower coaches to change and serve 100 million people by using what we call our real coach method. And that's what we're going to expose today. Is I get to do that. Gosh, I'm so blessed to be able to do this with you today, Bernard. And that's a little bit about me. I sold everything in 2019 to go headfirst in this space of building the I Love Coaching community. And now I can honestly say that that community has been blessed to expand to 4 different continents now with coaches all over the world. And no one works for Adam Roach. That's the beautiful part. is they are just members inside of our community. And the significance is so cool.
The coaching world is fortunate to have you and have you as a leader. What you said about you always need a coach, it's core to a value of holistic selling called humility. And humility is know your strengths, know your blind spots, know where to take feedback and how to take feedback to continuously learn and get better. And coaching is definitely a part of that. And Adam, your passion is to coach individuals like me who are looking to leverage their experience to help others, serve others. And hopefully build a business based on solving a problem that their target customers need to address. As mentioned earlier, we're going to use holistic selling today as the example, but the value for the audience will be to understand the methodology you recommend to any founder, anybody in my position who's passionate about starting a new venture and leveraging their expertise to serve others in a meaningful way. And as you pointed out in some of your videos, the key to any founder is not to position themselves as the hero of the story, but as the coach, based on the terms used by Donald Miller. It's never about you. It's always about how you can help others in your target audience address a problem with a solution that they need and hopefully are willing to pay for. So it starts with having a very clear understanding of the target audience and a very clear understanding of which problem are you solving. And is the problem big enough that people are going to want to raise their hand and say, I'd love to work with you to solve this problem.
Yes.
So that's really key. So maybe we can use holistic selling as an example here to say, are we going after the right audience? Is the problem big enough that people are going to raise their hand and say, I'd love to bring you on board to help solve the problem. And I'd love your coaching on this. That's going to be part of the lessons learned today, right? Is this the right target? Is this the right problem for us to go after? So if you're ready to go, first, the target audience that I'm going after is to engage primarily with CEOs, but also CROs, CMOs, and CCOs, or Chief Customer Officers in the SaaS B2B industries.
So we have a definition of the avatar. Those are the avatar that you are looking to serve. Now, the very first thing that we go into when we have a defined avatar, all this is spelled out in our blueprint. If you let me put my coaching hat on here, I'm going to coach you, Bernard. So we're going to go right into this. I want to know, first and foremost, when you look into the mirror in the morning, you see this good looking man that I get to see right here, and you look in that mirror and you say, I'm going to today serve the CEO. I'm going to serve the CMO. I'm going to serve these people. What does that do for you? First, let's ask that question. What does that do for you?
For me personally?
Yes, sir.
Well, I think fulfillment to be of value to C-level executives in the industry and help them along the way of optimizing their business.
Beautiful. Okay, so what we just heard there was that is a significance sentence. Some people will look at that and say, wow, I'm going to go coach CEOs of C-suite based companies because they have a lot of money, because I know they can afford my type of coaching. That's success path. What I heard you answer is when you look in the mirror in the morning and say, I get to serve CEOs, I get to serve the avatar that I desire because of the fulfillment that it brings me, because I know that my problem solution cycle will help them, will enhance them, will allow their lives to be moving forward. Okay, great. Number one, done. Now let's go into this. We have a 3-step process when we believe we have the avatar defined, when we believe that that avatar will bring us joy and fulfillment. We have 3 questions. The first question goes like this. These are very basic, so be careful, everybody. This might blow you away, but we got to ask these questions. First question is, do you like them? Do you like your avatar? So Bernard, I'm going to ask you that question. When you look at the avatar that you are desiring to coach, do you like them? Yes, these are closed-ended questions on purpose. Do you like them?
Well, yes. I will make sure that whoever I choose to serve and support are people that I'm closely aligned with from a value perspective. And therefore, yes, there will need to be a degree of liking each other for this relationship to be successful.
That's right. Because the last thing we want, whether it is a one-to-one coaching relationship or a one-to-many coaching relationship, is if I see that Bernard is on my calendar as a one-on-one coaching client and I say, oh my gosh, I'm excited to coach him today. Or, oh, there's Bernard again. I don't want to coach this guy. That's a simple and sounds silly, but it is a true measurement that we have to identify. Okay, That's number one with avatar. Number two, can you and will you be able to help that avatar? Even before we go into your problem solution cycle. So again, I've got my coaching hat on. I'm asking you, Bernard, can you and will you help that avatar that you like?
The answer to that is, if I didn't believe so, I would not engage in this conversation. So yes, I do believe that the methodology, the framework I build will help that avatar succeed in optimizing their sales performance as well as their customer success performance.
Okay, love that. Perfect. Last question here. And this is where I watch and have experienced coaches fail, is because number one, you think you are for sale, coach. Coaches have a feeling and a belief that I'm for sale. Wrong, inaccurate. People don't care about you. They don't care about your process. They don't care about your framework. They care about the payoff. So the payoff is where you are taking them through your process to a desired outcome. Because if you are a generalist coach, people will put a price tag on themselves. People, when I say coaches will put a price tag on themselves as an employee per hour. No, that's incorrect. You are to put a price tag on the payoff that I can achieve. So I'm going to now ask this third question is, when you have identified the payoff and you know what the value of that payoff is to your avatar, the third question goes like this: can they afford to pay you?
And the answer to that is, first of all, what is the payoff? And I've heard this many times and preached it myself. Success in the SaaS B2B world is not about doing one thing 100% better. It's about doing many things 5% better. So the impact of holistic selling is not on doing one thing 100% better. It's on improving the entire life cycle of the customer journey, from how you attract prospects, how you nurture them, how you convert them, how you start engaging with them, how you start differentiating your offering, how you close them into a deal, and then how you successfully implement them, continue to grow the business, retain them, and ultimately turn them into advocates. At every stage in that infinity loop customer lifecycle, holistic selling can have an impact by improving what you're doing by that 5%, 10%, so that ultimately every phase of the game can be improved by adopting holistic selling. So that's the payoff.
Yep. So here's the thing, though. That's great. But I'm Johnny's CEO right here, and I need to know, because I've heard of you, because I've read about holistic selling, because I know about this, but what is it in it for me that I, as the CEO, can go to the chairman of the board and simply say, I'm going to hire Bernard because what? Because what specifically for me that I am going to get a payoff in, that here it comes. When you say what the payoff is, let's say it's Friday and you and I engage in a sales cycle and it's Friday. And I go home to my wife and I say, hey, honey, I had this conversation with this amazing coach named Bernard today. He can solve my problem by Monday. I want to hire him. So what is that, Bernard? What am I getting here? I've got my coaching hat on. I'm going to keep my coaching hat on because that's what this podcast is about. What is that desirable payoff that I am going to achieve from you that I can put an X on in my business?
Great question. Can I answer that by attempting to define the problem that I want to solve in the mind of that CEO? So that CEO is going to talk to his wife on Friday night and said, I talked to Bernard and Bernard can help me solve X. Can we talk about that problem first to see whether the problem definition is compelling enough that it will drive that CEO to ask for money to solve the problem?
Yes, I want to share something here with you, because I took everything that you gave me and I put it into my blueprint. And this is what it came out. I talked to Bernard today. He described exactly what's happening in our business. I don't know how he knew that, but he nailed it. We're going to move forward.
Fantastic. What I've seen many, many times, I've worked in 7 different software organizations. Every time, if you're a CEO or C-level executive in the SaaS B2B industry, you're likely dealing with a familiar frustration. You're investing across sales, marketing, product, customer success, and your individual functions may claim success. Marketing may get more MQLs, product management would release new features on time, customer success reduces the average ticket resolution time. So all those functions come to the ELT meeting and say, I'm doing great, yet overall your sales growth and customer success performance is inconsistent. Pipeline conversion breaks, retention fluctuates, execution feels fragmented, and your instinct as a CEO is, I gotta have more functional programs. So what you do is you hire a new sales team, you implement a new sales methodology, you put in a new marketing strategy, you implement new customer success playbooks. And yet those fragmented initiatives never solve the fundamental problem. They just band-aids because they are not isolated issues. They're symptoms of a larger root cause. And the larger root cause is a lack of fundamental alignment across the organization to consistently focus on the one true north, which is to empower and enable your frontline team members to deliver extraordinary, value-driven experiences and outcomes to your customers and prospects at every touch point. So that's the promise. But that promise definitely has value in organizations where the CEO feels like, I'm missing something. We have functional leaders who come to DLT, say they're doing great, yet I can't predict where my sales are going to go. I have a mixed pot of happy customers, not happy customers. And I've got a boat anchor. My reputation's not that great. My brand is not resonating. My sales team is churning. And yet everybody's telling me it's going well, but it's not going well. There's a fundamental root cause of a problem, which is I got to get everybody aligned towards the true north, which is that point of contact with the customer, with the prospect, has to be engineered to deliver value every single time, to deliver that extraordinary experience and outcome, so that every time we can progress the sales cycle, we can progress the relationship, and make our customers' business better, which will reward us with growth and profitability. So that's the idea. What do you think about the problem statement?
Problem statement is great. It's clear, it's concise. I was typing as you were talking. I condensed it a little bit. I help B2B CEOs turn a fragmented company into one system. And maybe that's not 100%, but something similar to that. So that growth stops feeling like a fight, because we know that they are feeling that it is a fight to grow, and starts feeling more like a flow-based result. That's what I'm hearing you say there. But as we go back to the payoff there, the last question we have to ask is, can they afford us? Because here's what happens. When we don't have massive clarity on the payoff, we, the coach, think that we are for sale, but we are never for sale. You're never, ever for sale. The payoff is for sale. Now, here's the cool part about the payoff. When you have clarity on that, it's never a sell. We don't sell the payoff. We invite to the payoff. When we invite to the payoff, the sales cycle is very simple. It's either yes or a no. It's either I want that payoff. Now, here's the neat part about this. Again, I don't know the time frame at which you work with an avatar, but here's what people pay for. People pay for compression of time. So as you look at this business model, what I would say is, okay, when we have a defined, we call it the 3 Ps, defined payoff, great, and we have a defined premise. What is the premise? The premise is what you believe. That is your worldly view on this space, that we then take it to the practice. The practice is your methodology. The practice is your process. When we have those 3 things in place, I can now go to Johnny Avatar. Here's your payoff. Do you want this done in 6 months, or do you want this done in 2 days? 6 months is going to be one price. 2 days is going to be a compression of time price, and people will pay for compression of time.
Very well said. So let's stay with the payoff. So I would see payoff in 2 categories: the financial outcome and the operational metrics. So in the SaaS B2B world, the financial outcome is going to be more predictable and higher bookings and annual recurring revenues, better gross and net retention rates, and higher EBITDA. If you can control those financial metrics and you can predictably grow them, you're going to have a very successful business. Now, the financial metrics are lagging indicators. The operational metrics are leading indicators, right? So you want to make sure your operational metrics are aligned with the production of those financial metrics over time. This is where you're going to make sure that all the functions are aligned towards enabling and empowering the frontline team members to deliver those extraordinary value-driven experiences and outcomes to customers and prospects. What that basically, in terms of payoff, delivers is better conversion rates from suspects to prospects to customers, better retention rates of customers, better conversion of customers into advocates. So you can measure the conversion rate and the velocity across all stages in the customer lifecycle process, right? How easy and fast is it to attract new prospects, nurture them, convert them, the velocity and conversion through the sales process, the time and cost of implementation, the ability to grow and retain customers and convert them to advocates. All of those stages are attached to conversion and velocity metrics, operational metrics that you can absolutely measure. So the key of holistic selling, by removing the internal frictions and constraints, is to impact every phase of the game. How do you actually improve your ability to attract prospects, nurture them, convert them? Your ability to then take that opportunity and convert it into a deal with a high degree of conversion and faster cycles. And how you then, once the prospect became a customer, how you can implement them, retain them, grow them, turn them into advocates at a higher conversion rate, higher velocity. So it's all about conversion rate and velocity through every phase in the customer lifecycle process. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. And again, as I get to sit here and be your coach, I love this. Thank you. The neat part, and again, I want you to take this from the standpoint of being respectful here to everything that you've built. Are you familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. You are the master of this space and you're standing at the top of that mountain. You've got a flag that you've planted, and all your language that you're using is so good. It is so spot on. As the CEO of a former SaaS business myself that I was the founder of, I am salivating because I wish I had you 10 years ago, right? But you're almost too smart for your own good because you're standing at the top of that Maslow mountain in the space of self-realization. That's the top of Maslow, is self-realization, is being the best version of yourself. Here's what we have tendencies to do is not identify where the avatar is on the mountain, because the bottom of the mountain is basic needs. Food, water, shelter. Okay, your CEOs of SaaS business probably aren't there. They could be at the second level, which is safety. Maybe they need safety. Safety from what? Safety from a churn. Safety from retention of talent on the team. Maybe they need safety in a general space of generating revenue to keep the lights on, right? Third level is belonging. Most aren't there yet. So what I'm saying right here, Bernard, as your stand-in coach for a minute, is the language is so good, but I'm at the bottom of the mountain and I'm feeling too much. I'm feeling as if you're at the top saying, come on, I'll get you up here to the top. I want you to bring it down. I want you to break it down into bite-sized pieces. Help me help you. Where are you? Do you need safety? Do we need to create belonging? Do we need to create so on and so forth? Again, not necessarily in those words, but I'll give you an example. When we have coaches come into our community, I know it's not one size shoe fits all because they're not all on the same part of the mountain. But we serve coaches. That's very true. But not all coaches are in the same part of that mountain, just like all CEOs are not on the same part of the mountain as you are stepping in to coach them. And it's our responsibility as service providers to know where they are. And we have to do that through either an intake form or through Q&A or a discovery call or deep dive, because again, it's not going to be one size shoe fits all. We want it to be because that makes our process easy, but it's not always going to be that way.
I absolutely love what you said. And I love this notion of dumbing down the message to be accessible.
Yes.
And approachable. And maybe it leads to a more defined definition of the avatar. Instead of saying, let's go after CEOs in the SaaS B2B world, build a very, very vivid description of who that CEO is. Like describe the avatar in infographics terms to understand the people who are going to listen to the message are maybe those who feel the need for safety. And maybe what I should do in the avatar is to go after first-time CEOs or people who have just taken over a CEO job in the last year and have to deal with a new leadership team that they're trying to bring together and align against those metrics that I talked about that are part of holistic selling. So maybe the avatar needs to be more refined to go after first-time CEOs who feel the need for safety, or people who have just gotten into another CEO position who feel the need to adopt a framework, a methodology like holistic selling to make a big impact on their business as quickly as possible. So there's something there to fine tune in terms of not only the message, but also the avatar and the key personas that holistic selling should be targeting.
Yeah, it's really interesting as I sit here and listen to you. You are so intelligent in your space. I want to read your book. I mean, I want to read your book because I know how impactful and knowledge filled that book is going to be. Though, when we are building a business and we are attracting the right avatar, in the beginning, they don't get your book. They only get a paragraph out of the book, right? They only get a sentence out of the book. But we, you, Bernard, in this space, have to know which sentence is the right sentence for them to answer the question. He knows exactly how I feel. How does he know that?
It's very well said, because so far what I've been messaging is around the entire framework. So should I start carving the message into bit-sized points of value where I dissect the messaging into very specific problems that a CEO might recognize themselves into and say, I got to fix this. So it's all about stop chasing, start attracting. So I don't want to chase, I want to attract. And so to attract, I got to create hooks in the conscience of those CEOs to say, that speaks to me. And I need to have a conversation with Bernard about that hook. So what is the best way to make that happen?
Well, that's a great question. Speaking to me is one thing. Remember, there's two types of buyers out there. There is a logical buyer and an emotional buyer. When it comes to the avatar, that's the psychographic that you were talking about, is how do they think? But we also have to not only ask the question, how do they think, how do they feel? And would you rather have a think avatar or a feel avatar? The feel avatar is going to be the emotional buyer, because watch this. Here's what we know when it comes to building brands. Brands are remembered by the way they made you feel. I like to do this game. This will take 2 seconds. I'm going to say the industry, Bernard. You tell me the brand that comes to mind. Okay? All right. So, very simply, the first industry is watches.
Rolex.
Great. Let's go with automobiles.
BMW.
Let's go with airlines.
American Airlines.
Let's go with hotels.
Marriott.
Perfect. And let's go, and you got to be honest here. First one that comes to mind, let's go with coaching company.
I love coaching.
How about that? Now, I think you did that on purpose. Now, here's the cool part, right? Each one of those brands has made you feel something. I heard Rolex. I heard BMW. I heard American. Every one of those have made you feel something. So let's go back to the initial question. The initial question was giving the avatar a sentence or a hook that says, wow, Bernard knows how I think. Bernard knows how I feel. That's right. We've got to make them feel something so that they logically will look at something. Now, the neat part about this is you have so many assets in your business. We've got to pinpoint exactly the way the avatar thinks and feels and give them the value there. Okay.
To elaborate on what you said, every decision is emotional and justified with logic.
Correct.
Right? So logic is always used to justify the decision, but the decision itself is always driven by emotions.
Always. Love it. Okay, good. Now, that's why we go back to the avatar with clarity on the avatar. Now, let's stay there. You know your avatar better than anybody on this podcast right now. What is the one thing that avatar has a problem in right now? Keep it simple.
Well,
keep it super simple.
I'll say alignment towards one true north, improving customer success, improving sales performance by empowering your frontline team members to delight customers and prospects at every touch point. The CEO I'm going after is a CEO that feels like he or she is feeling like something's not clicking. Everybody's telling me their own functional world is going fine, yet performance is inconsistent. I'm spinning my wheels and I'm not moving forward. What do I need to do differently? And the reason why he or she would be stuck is, again, fundamentally because there's a lack of alignment towards creating value for customers and prospects at every touch point because of the internal barriers and frictions. Obviously, an anecdote you know well in the SaaS B2B world is that if you're a salesperson or an account manager, you spend 70% of your time dealing with internal stuff and only 30% of your time customer facing. What if you could transform that to, instead of 70-30, becomes 40-60? Can you enable people to spend twice this amount of time customer facing to help customers solve problems and advance sales cycles and customer relationships? That only happens when you simplify and eliminate your frictions and barriers inside of a company, which means everybody has to swim in the same direction. Everybody has to have the same purpose, same set of beliefs, same set of values, same set of coordinated processes, so that your frontline team members can do their job with twice the amount of time and a lot less complexity and friction within the organization. So my whole purpose is reduce friction, reduce complexity, enable and empower the frontline team members to do their jobs, which is creating value for customers and prospects at every touch point.
Beautiful. Now, I want you to identify yourself here for a second, okay? You, again, are so brilliant in this space. Do you think that you speak in logic terms or emotional terms?
I'm attempting to speak in emotional terms.
I'm hearing logic, though.
Okay, that's very good.
Logic.
That's why we're doing this coaching session.
So I'm hearing logic. So if I'm looking at an article that you publish on LinkedIn, if I'm seeing a YouTube clip of you, all that language needs to be brought to me emotionally. Let me rephrase that. That language needs to be brought to me to emotionally charge me. Either a feeling of missing out, a feeling of, holy cow, that's me, right? They need to identify themselves emotionally in whatever it is that said subject line is. So let's go back to that. Give it to me in a singular sentence with an emotionalness or emotionality, if you will, in that problem. State my problem emotionally. We need them to feel that we know where they are. We're not asking a question. And here's very simply. Your team is underperforming because you are culturally misaligned. Your team, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the team maximizing its potential. And we want to put the feeling or the emotion on the leader there. So your team is going to continue, presupposing that it's already, your team is going to continue to underperform. Your team is going to continue to suffer because your communication style is not landing or is inadequate or is filling a space there. Now we're telling them they know their problem. Yeah, my team is underperforming. Oh my gosh, Bernard just said that my communication skills are not adequate. I've been feeling that. I've been feeling my communication is not landing. Let me see what he has to say there.
Well said. So your team is underperforming because functions are not aligned towards that true north. And therefore, the frontline team members spend a large amount of their time addressing those internal frictions instead of serving customers and prospects. That's the fundamental problem. So if I can help you solve that problem by creating that alignment so that your frontline team members can better serve customers, create value, which then will be the absolute engine for growth and customer success. Nothing happens unless you create value at every touch point. What's preventing them from creating value today is they spend 70% of their time trying to negotiate internally and remove all the frictions that are caused by bloated processes and procedures that are taking away from the time, but also the joy, the energy. If you spend 70% of your time dealing with all the internal functions before you talk to the customer, by the time you get to the customer, you're exhausted. You've lost a lot of your mojo. That impacts your ability to make a difference. And I want the frontline team members, whether it's sales, account managers, customer success managers, to really carry that positive emotion towards the customer and the prospect, because their internal interactions are simplified, because it's so much easier for them to serve the customer than it currently is. When that happens, that emotion that they carry into that conversation is contagious. And it's so much easier to convince a customer and a prospect to engage with your brand when you yourself have that amount of positive emotion about your relationship with your own company. At the end of the day, everybody wants to do a better job. But then by the time 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m. comes, they're exhausted dealing with all those interactions and all the barriers and frictions that come with it. And they start thinking, I'm not going to be successful. There's too much work. It's too hard to do, right? Maybe that's an element of emotional content there that I could play on as well.
Well, what that is, everything that you stated right there is the payoff. There's so much payoff language inside of there. Now, watch this. I'm going to come to you and I'm going to say, Bernard, everything that you just shared with me right there, what could I X my bottom line? When I follow your process, when I follow your system, when I follow your guidance in a proximity play, meaning one-to-one, how much can I X my bottom line? What is it? How much can you help me X my bottom line? Here's what I know, baseline for me. If someone's following my blueprint and they've maximized phase 2, which is the proximity play, that's just one-to-one coaching, and they follow it to a minimum, I'll make them $15,000 of monthly recurring revenue or $180,000 of annualized recurring revenue. Great. If they move to phase 3, I'm going to teach them now how to go from that to 360,000 in less than half the time. And when they finally get to phase 4, I will show them, because I have receipts on doing this, how to make their business worth $1 million plus. So I'm hiring you and you're going to coach me. I'm going to follow your process. In your experience from your receipts, I'm going to X. What is my X of my bottom line?
And clearly, the value that holistic selling would deliver to that CEO and leadership team, if it's $10 million a year, how much were they willing to pay for that improvement in EBITDA, right, and profitability? How do I connect financial metrics to operational metrics that I can prove I can absolutely impact by the implementation of holistic selling?
Yes. Now, and check that out. Now you're getting even narrower on your avatar, because now you'll have a process that is specific to that specific avatar, and you have receipts from past clients who actually achieved your process. So now you know that when they come into your world and you're going to help them make an extra $1 million, we call it the 1/10th rule. You can charge me $100,000 because I'll get the ROI of the $1 million. Now, I know I have to do all the work, but your process is proving that it'll do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And as I get started, obviously, I'm going to have to deliver those proof points. To launch the business, I got to cultivate those advocates. I got to cultivate the initial customers to become references and advocates so that I can build from there. So I fully understand that. But I love the idea of let's make it first more emotional, but then also let's back it up with the logic as to once emotionally I understand where you can help me achieve safety, achieve belonging, achieve self-realization. I can also connect the dots in terms of the value enhancement methodology that helps them understand exactly where that value is going to come from.
Yes. Yes. And that's the neat part about this. When you can get those 3 P's in place, now we're talking about a different 3 P's. When you have your one-on-ones, this is what we coach every coach to do. Go get one-on-one clients first, because you're working on building your process. The process is your A to Z, your problem solution cycle, and you get to redo that. You get to play with that every one-on-one coaching call. Once you have that finished, Bernard, now you get to go into what we call the peers. Peers is where you build a one-to-many business off of the process that you built with your proximity. And the neat part about when you do a one-to-many and your process is taught in there, watch this though, you're not teaching the one-to-many the entire process. You're only teaching the one-to-many one chapter. They only get one chapter, and one chapter at a time, because there will be people in your one-to-many that say, hey, Bernard, that was incredible teaching, and I know we're only getting one chapter out of your 10-chapter process. I want it all right now. Can I coach with you? And you'll say yes. And you'll say yes. And now you'll get to increase that payoff amount to you, and your prices go up now.
In many ways, that one-to-many sharing the chapter is teaser for them to want to engage with you across the entire framework. So how do I break down the messaging into those chapters, into those teasers that become those hooks, emotionally loaded hooks that get people to want to raise their hand and say, I'd love to have a conversation with you.
Yep, that's really, really good. And we know how to do that because we have been that. And when we have been that, we can share that. And when we can share that, we can identify with them. We can sit with them. We can emotionally sit with them. We can logically sit with them. And it's no longer a sales process, it is an invite. And when you can invite, it makes it so much easier. So much easier.
Fantastic. I'm conscious of time, so let's wrap this up. Adam, great conversation today, starting with what you call the problem solution cycle, making sure you have a very clear definition of the problem, making sure you have a very clear definition of the avatar, and making sure that you describe the avatar in very specific terms to be your target audience from which you're going to be able to grow. Make sure that the problem statement is emotional first, logical second. Make sure you develop it in terms of hooks that may be just one chapter at a time to enable them to consume it in ways that provide them with this Maslow hierarchy of needs, safety, belonging, and then self-realization. And make it more approachable and accessible so that ultimately people can connect with how this relates to them, because it's always about them, not about us. It's about the payoff at the end of this. So how do you describe the payoff in emotional terms so that they can really connect with it and be compelled to engage with me in terms of implementing that payoff. There's so much there, Adam, and can't thank you enough for the session today. I'd like to leave it to you for a call to action. What would you like the audience to retain from this conversation today in a few words?
Well, first of all, the way that I always end every one-on-one coaching call is we have to grade ourselves. And I'm going to give you, my friend, an A today. You get an A in the Coach E space because you were coachable. You were able to repeat back what I shared with you. And I have no doubt what we would do next was I would give you action items and you would go complete those action items. So thank you. That was a great job there. And I trust you got something out of that. That was really good.
Well, absolutely. I'll definitely give you an A+ as a coach today for the call, and I'm sure the audience will as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the conversation today. That was absolutely outstanding.
Really my pleasure. Yeah. And if anybody's listening and maybe you got the itch to step into a coaching space, here's what we know. Everybody has a unique problem solution cycle. As long as you've been alive, you've been developing problem solution cycles that can help other people, right? So we have very simply, if you go to ilovecoachingco.com, that says get started. And all it is a download on Get Paid to Coach, right? That's it. Most of us are amateur coaches. And what amateur means is, well, amateurs usually don't make any money. And that's okay. That's not negative. It's a factual thing. My father, being an Olympic swim coach, he used to always call me an amateur before I was able to make some money playing professional tennis. So that's kind of a play on my father's language there, though we teach and coach people how to become professional coaches. And so that guide, Get Paid to Coach, it's a free guide. Go get it. It's on our website, ilovecoachingco.com. And if you want to come hang out with me, go to my Instagram, Adam R. Roach. There's an R there in the middle because that's my middle name, Ray. That is my mother's fault. And engage with me in a DM. I'm happy to chat. There's no mini bot there or mini chat that is replying to you. That is 100% me. Go give me a DM and I'm happy to help any and all of you.
Thank you so much for that leave behind for the audience today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you, Bernard. That was fun.